This is Common Sense Radio. Straightforward and no excuses.
All right. Come on now.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Call me crazy.
Oh, yeah.
What I said was perfectly right and spot on accurate.
Boy's got a mouth like a cannon, always shooting it all.
Stop.
Got it.
Yeah, stop. I mean, you're way off, Skip.
Got it in me. Gonna quit until it all comes out.
Hey, boy!
Been a long education.
Yeah, it's not cynical. It's common sense.
My homework is
Pay attention to me when I'm talking to you.
I'm gonna rock the nation. Rock the nation.
Genuine, accountable, and raw. Here is Steve Gruber.
Welcome back to the air. Welcome to... Did I just leave? I felt like I just left. Good morning. Welcome to the Steve Gruber Show. I'm Duran Martinez, in for Steve today. Also in tomorrow. Going to be doing this thing through the week here. Just a couple more days. We'll get through today. We'll get through tomorrow and keep you updated with all of the news and information that is going on around the world and around Michigan as well. Activists say a new wave of airstrikes have struck the northern Syrian city of Raqqa, the de facto capital of the Islamic State group. There's been no immediate word on casualties. In France, the military says the strikes early today destroyed a command post and training camp. There was the second wave of airstrikes by France against ISIL, IS, whatever they're called, after Friday's terror attacks, setback in Paris that killed 129 people. Not exactly sure how you can count that as just a setback. Ask 129 families if they consider it a setback. Not my words. French President Francois Hollande says he'll present a bill Wednesday for an extension of state emergency in France. It would grant police and military a greater power of search and arrest, and local government the right to ban demonstrations and impose curfews for another 3 months. Temporary state of emergency was put into effect following last Friday's terror attacks in Paris that killed 129 people. Gonna go to Brian in southern Michigan on the phones, 888-900-9966. Gonna start the day off with Brian. How are you this morning?
I'm good, Duran. I saw Obama in his speech yesterday. It was just very flat. There was no energy. But then you compare that to his speech about that kid in Ferguson, how it's like my own kid and everything. But then you go back and compare how Bush acted when we were attacked after 9/11, how just the anger in his face and stuff. There's no anger. There's no emotion. It's just the guy is just cuckoo.
Well, Brian, let me tell you this. How about, if the reporters were allowed to question him, one did, and then you saw him get angry. When anyone questions his authority and his motives and his, what his plans are, calling this a setback is utter ridiculousess.
And you notice how the thugs are killing people, but yet a cop goes after a thug, and then he defends the thug, and he acts like the thug is his own kid. You notice how that is?
Over 300 homicides in Baltimore. Has he made any attempt to visit that? Or how about the police shootings? Did any of these police remind him? Did he look at any of the fallen officers and say, that would have been my own? Reminds me of what my son would be. No, not a chance. So again, Brian,
it's almost like a child taking a watch apart, and then the kid doesn't know how to put the watch, a very expensive watch, apart, and he never knows how to put the watch back together again. That's like how Obama running this country. He's basically taken the watch apart, and he doesn't know how to put it back together again.
Exactly. Brian, appreciate your call this morning in southern Michigan. If you'd like to join the conversation this morning, 888-900-9966, 1-888-900-9966. 9966. Also, Congress, Republican lawmakers taking aim at the Syrian refugee plan. The assault on Paris has sparked widespread calls from congressional Republicans to end the limit U.S. refugee admissions from Syria, with some threatening to use critical spending legislation as leverage just weeks from a must-pass deadline. And it appears that the governor of Colorado is ready to welcome these refugees. Open arms. And the issue looms as a sudden and unexpected challenge to new House Speaker Paul Ryan of Wisconsin, who faces a December 11th deadline to pass a package of spending bills or risk a partial government shutdown. The legislation was already tricky because of the potential for policy fights on issues like Planned Parenthood and the environment. And now some conservatives want to include language requiring congressional approval of any refugee plan that would allow Republicans to block President Barack Obama's goal of bringing 10,000 more Syrian refugees to the U.S. During this budget year. I'm trying to figure out what the political posturing is for bringing 10,000 refugees to the United States, what the benefit would be. If somebody out there, which, probably knows better than I, if there's a financial benefit to this, please let me know. 888-900-9966. Current and former American officials say last week's attack in Paris now show the extent to which the Islamic State aspires to hit Western soft targets, including the United States. Analysts point out that the U.S. is better positioned to thwart such an effort, equipped with a more robust intelligence capacity. They also say Muslims in the U.S. are far less alienated than those in Europe. One analyst says many attack plots since September 11, 2001 have been disrupted because of tips from American Muslims. But U.S. officials also say lower risk doesn't mean no risk. FBI Director James Comey says the Islamic State poses a graver threat than al-Qaeda. Federal law enforcement officials have reportedly expressed concern about the spontaneous and unpredictable nature of the Islamic State's plotting. Duran Martinez in for Steve Gruber this morning, 888-900-9966. If you'd like to join the conversation this morning, I'd love to have you on here. Lots to talk about, lots of things going on. Talking about what the president deems as a setback in Paris, a setback to global security because of these attacks that happened over the weekend. I don't really consider them a setback. I consider it a major threat, personally. Even a personal threat. Love to hear your voice this morning. It's a Tuesday, 14 minutes after the top of the hour. Duran Martinez. This is the Steve Gruber Show on the Michigan Talk Network.
Genuine Michigan common sense on display every day. Filling in for Steve Gruber, here's Duran Martinez.
Welcome back to the Steve Gruber Show. I'm Duran Martinez, filling in for Steve. I'm just grooving this morning. 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966. From the land of skiing and the pot culture, Colorado. I never thought I'd see Colorado turn into something like that, but then again, after years of John Denver, maybe that's what happened. I don't know, the kinder, gentler Colorado. More than half of the nation's governors, 27 states in all, say they oppose letting Syrian refugees into their states. Although the final say is on this contentious issue, the immigration issue will fall into the hands of the federal government. Now, what The states protesting the admission of the refugees range from Alabama, southern states into Alabama, Georgia, Texas, western states like Arizona, right here in the Midwest, Michigan, even Illinois, which really kind of surprises me. Maine, New Hampshire, about all but one have Republican governors. But it would seem that Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper is saying, Hickenlooper is saying, yeah, bring them in. We welcome them with open arms. What, seriously, is going on with Colorado? I would really like to know. When you have that much blowback from governors, Republican or otherwise, this is a common sense issue. When you have all but 100% solid proof that one of the terrorists involved in the Paris bombings had embedded himself within the Syrian refugees, that is one more than we need to have in there. Okay, I understand America's open arms policy, welcoming in new people that come through the correct channels. But right now, when you have a hotbed of terrorist activity in Syria, allowing refugees in, not a good idea. It's just not a good idea. You've seen what can happen. And in the event I'm wrong on this, I'll admit it. I'll ask Steve to come on the show and admit, so I can admit it. So I can admit that I was wrong about this. But I don't think I'm going to be. Again, I was not happy with Governor Snyder's welcoming of the refugees, to be perfectly honest with you. Now the fact that we've put it on hold, I'm not as unhappy about it. But personally, I would rather not see this happen. And I would caution Canada and Mexico the same. Should I be, if I were king for a day, that's what I would be probably, strongly suggesting happen, that our borders remain closed at this time because of what happened in Paris. God bless the French. They are taking no time in airstrikes, retaliation for these attacks in Paris. Wasting no time taking action within their own borders to search and seek out those who wish to do them harm. And I wish I could play the audio on from an HBO show that I watch on occasion. That it was so profanity laden, but yet so to the point about France, about attacking somebody for cultural differences. You attack France. If Alex has enough time to beep out all the swear words from that, I will see if we can play it. But you would hear nothing but a bunch of tones covering it up, and it was still brilliant. And maybe at some point in time, I'll even post it on my Facebook page as well. But again, one of those not safe for work things. 23 minutes after the top of the hour, 888-900-9966. I apologize for going off on a rant, but Colorado just never ceases to amaze me with their lack of intelligence in general in their government. Police have released 2 photos of a suspect in the fatal shooting of the pregnant wife of an Indianapolis pastor, as they hope to draw tips from the public. The photos taken from a home surveillance video show a person walking in the neighborhood where 28-year-old Amanda Blackburn was killed. Police revealed they had the footage Friday, but didn't release the images until Monday. More than 2,000 people attended a memorial for Blackburn on Sunday in nearby Whitestown. It was coordinated by 4 churches, including the Resident Church in Indianapolis, where her husband is a pastor, and a church in South Carolina where the couple belonged before moving in 2012 to found the Resident Church. Blackburn died Wednesday at a hospital after the shooting Tuesday morning. She recently had announced that she was pregnant. More than 50 people have been arrested during a second day of protests in Minneapolis over the shooting of a black man by a police officer during an apparent struggle Hundreds of people protesting 24-year-old Jamar Clark's shooting blocked I-94 Monday night, shutting down the northbound lanes. Authorities have released a few details about the early Sunday shooting. Some witnesses say the man was shot while handcuffed, which police dispute. Powerful winter storm is expected to push into Kansas later today, leaving behind 6 to 10 inches of snow in Denver and all the problems such a storm entails. The storm blanketed the Rocky Mountains with several inches of snow overnight, forcing the cancellation of more than 200 flights in Denver. Forecasters say today they could see winds of 30 to 40 miles per hour with gusts up to 50 miles per hour. 25 after the hour, I'm Duran Martinez. Appreciate you joining me here on the Steve Gruber Show, 888-900-9966 on the Michigan Talk Network.
Delivering Michigan common sense with a big dose of truth and honesty.
Get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Stand up for your right.
Welcome back to the Steve Gruber Show. Duran Martinez filling in for Steve today. So good to have you along. Gonna keep you up to date on what's going on around the world, around the state, and some great guests coming up here a little bit later on the show. Michigan Governor Rick Snyder is asking the Obama administration for a full review of security clearances for refugees who could be placed in Michigan. I'm not thinking it's a good idea at this point in time. Extremely too soon. Now, what's going to happen to these refugees? Are they going to stay in limbo? Are they staying outside of the U.S., waiting for the okay to come into Michigan, of all places? Where are they right now? I'd like to know that. But we're going to continue on with our guests this morning. Going to start out with Michael Daugherty. Inside the Beltway, the shocking expose of the U.S. government's surveillance and overreach into cybersecurity, medicine, and small business. And the Justice Department thinks that is forging a new path for taking down terrorist hackers after the arrest of a Kosovo man allegedly aiding Islamic extremists. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. How you doing?
So this new path that the government is on to stop hackers and terrorists. Is this one you think that we're on the right track?
Yeah. I mean, yes and no in the sense of, look, there's no one bullet that's going to solve this. This is all over the place. And they're having to piece the puzzle together just like our enemies piece the puzzle together of everything they gather about us. And they're trying to probably be more proactive and backdoor things more. But it's not one, there's not going to be one solution here. It's that broad, it's that prevalent. And quite frankly, we're behind.
Well, behind in the fact that I look and I see ISIS and other groups, they're using, what was it, Sony PlayStation now to hide themselves? Going through?
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure. They're using everything. And look, they've been way ahead of the game based on the bureaucrats that we have in place that whose incompetence impedes our offense, and certainly PlayStations are just part of it. I mean, phones, software programs, going in and taking tons of files, of which I'm sure we don't know all of. Yeah, I mean that's just one of the list, unfortunately.
Now, I was watching a news report this morning, speaking with Michael Daugherty here on the Steve Gruber Show, watching a report this morning that they are hiring college grade and master degree level people to have, for the members of ISIS, to have like a call center, a help center now.
Well, ISIS is so sophisticated. They're taxing their own members. They're making money off of oil sales. They control the wheat fields in Iraq. I mean, this is a machine that is terrifying. Now, the good news is, on the other side is Anonymous, which, of course, the government certainly doesn't like because they're not controlling them, is just declared war on ISIS for what they've done in Paris. So you have other cyber groups cyber intelligence groups that are also far down the road and acting within the deep web against this type of murder. So, and that's actually a good thing. It might not be exactly who we want on our side for some people politically, but it's the more people that are undermining the activities of ISIS, the better, especially in the world of cyber terror and cyber intelligence.
Speaking with our guest, Michael Daugherty, here on the Steve Gruber Show. Michael, cyber vigilantism. I'm gonna make that word up as I go this morning. And it's probably already been used. But do you think this, with Anonymous, and I saw that same story, with Anonymous, there might be other groups trying to do what they would perceive to be good, and just undermining the government, going their own way because they have the ability, and like you said, they don't have the impedance of a government getting in the way, trying to regulate what they're doing.
Well, that's very much what's going on anyway. I mean, this is what is driving governments nuts, and some of the governments use that as a veiled excuse. They call people helping them, in China and Russia specifically, vigilantes, when actually they are working with the government. And that's because we have so much power just in our own workstations and smartphones, so you can splinter some of these people, and then they can go and hack into our, in involving themselves in things contrary to the interests of the United States, and the governments go, well, that's not us. We can't help that. That's just some criminal that's living here. And that's another big problem. The whole hierarchy and sort of power grid has been flipped upside down, and that's what makes this so difficult. And this whole battle of borderless. This is why the NSA argues they need everything, because they have to sort through it. Everything's mixed together, and these people burrow themselves and bury underground, phonetically here. Yeah, that is exactly what's going on, and that's what's been going on.
It's been going on, but is the government in any kind of hurry to shut it down, seeing how they're probably doing what the government would like without all that red tape?
They can't shut it down, and they know it. And what they need to do is sort of, persuade some of those people to come over and assist the United States, which is why you find, generals over at DEF CON conferences in Las Vegas, where, 15,000 hackers, descend for a party in the summer. That is the reason why. I mean, look, knowledge is power, and skill is power, and you can't just control that within any government, especially a free society. So now this is we have to somehow get them working in concert. But when ISIS goes and does things like this that are so inexcusably barbaric, and the bomb blows up the plane, and they're killing people, just out in society in Paris, that helps unify the other side.
Speaking with Michael Daugherty here on the Steve Gruber Show, that bomb that you spoke of, now the Russian government has offered $50 million for information. They've arrested 2 workers from an airport that were on the inside with this. I'm looking at that going, okay, I hate to say it, but it seems Russia's getting it right also. And we're just kind of sitting back calling this a setback.
Well, we have an administration that is only concerned about their own image, and everything else is secondary, and that is what is just absolutely appalling. And he's so off the beam. I don't know if anyone is doing anything other than just waiting for him to run its course and get the heck out of there. I mean, the way Obama's just an absolute embarrassment and a travesty, and I don't think that speaks for everyone below the first layer of the people in various agencies that are there to support him. I mean, it is just unexcusably narcissistic of him to run around trying to pretend nothing's wrong so that he doesn't take a hit as the person that's running the ship. It doesn't surprise anyone, and it's humiliating to the country.
All right, Michael Daugherty, please appreciate you joining us here this morning on the Steve Gruber Show. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your insight.
No problem. Take care. Thanks.
You as well. Thank you. 19 minutes away from the top of the hour. 888-900-9966. Find us on Facebook. Look for the Steve Gruber Show. This is the Michigan Talk Network.
American values with Midwestern common sense. Filling in for Steve Gruber, here's Duran Martinez.
Good morning. Welcome to the Steve Gruber Show. 15 minutes away from the top of the hour. Moving forward on a Tuesday morning. Good to have you along. Got lots going on around the state. We talked about the Syrian refugees and the governor asking for clearance and some intel on these people coming in. Again, not sure that the intel will be 100%. Should we get any? Should we get any? Because most of these people coming over, I'll guarantee, will not have records. And should they have records, will they be legitimate? You want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt because that's what we're good at doing. But, again, something we have to watch very closely. A suburban Detroit man accused of killing a neighbor and storing the body for weeks in a closet has been given a mandatory sentence of life in prison without parole. Alex Adamowicz said he acted in self-defense in the stabbing of John Watson, but an Oakland County jury rejected it at a trial last month. The 23-year-old turned down a plea deal with a shorter sentence. Investigators believe that Adamowicz killed the 51-year-old Watson during an argument over a noise at an apartment complex in Walled Lake. Adamowicz's mother found Watson's body wrapped in plastic during a visit on Mother's Day in 2014 and persuaded her son to go to the police. Judge Michael Warren says the death was covered up in a morbid and disgusting way. Adamowicz was silent in court on Monday. I'm thinking pretty much if you kill someone and wrap them up in saran wrap, put them in the closet, and then try and claim self-defense, not so much. It's not going to work that way. Okay? Self-defense, whatever the case, even should be any form of beating should be. The police should be notified on that. Another story I picked up on yesterday. When you see a story about an officer being shot, you definitely look. You definitely look if it's in Detroit. A Detroit police officer has been wounded during a shootout with a man following a high-speed chase on the city's east side. Police say the officer suffered a grazing wound. Fortunately, it was just that. To his leg about 10:20 a.m. on Monday, the suspect was shot several times in retaliation, or during the whole altercation, rather. A second officer was also hurt. Chief James Craig told reporters that the suspect sped off after the officers saw him trying to hide a handgun in a vehicle. The man stopped the car after a short chase and then shot at the officers. The officers then returned fire. Both officers and the suspect were taken to an area hospital for treatment. A woman who was in the car before the chase and shooting ran off. She was later arrested. A Detroit area doctor who hurt patients and cheated insurers through fraudulent spinal surgeries said he'll stick to his guilty plea. Dr. Arya Sabit returned to federal court on Monday, 6 weeks after a judge rejected a plea deal that likely would have put him in prison for 9 to 11 years. Sabit's guilty plea now comes with formal deal with prosecutors. It means Judge Paul Borman will have more discretion in sentencing him. Sabit also pled guilty to fraud, acknowledging that he performed unnecessary and improper surgeries that caused serious injury. He said he also got kickbacks in Ventura, California for using certain implants. Sabit moved to the Detroit area in 2011 while he was under investigation by regulators in California. 10 minutes away from the top of the hour this morning, 888-900-9966. A man accused of beating his mother with a frying pan and dumping her body into a western Michigan river has been sentenced to at least 20 years in prison. The body of 72-year-old Sharon Roersma was discovered last year by a fisherman in the Grand River in Ottawa County. Michael Roersma didn't speak in court on Monday, but his sister, Cindy Senna, called him pure evil. The 51-year-old pleaded guilty to second-degree murder in October. He told the judge that his mother fell and broke her neck after he repeatedly hit her in the head with a pan. Roersma's release from prison will be determined by the parole board after he serves at least 20 years. He is an ex-convict. Well, for those of you who like Star Wars, the Muskegon Chronicle is reporting that a ballet based on Star Wars has made its debut as a Western at a Western Michigan theater. The Star Wars Tribute Ballet was performed Saturday at the Freudenthal Center in Muskegon. And I apologize if I'm saying that right, saying it wrong. The performance featured characters such as Princess Leia, Han Solo, and Yoda, and music from the composer John Williams. Many young audience members dressed as their favorite characters from the series. The production's choreography was done by Sean France, a former soloist in the Royal Swedish Ballet. He tells the Muskegon Chronicle that he treated it like a classical ballet, taking a big story and letting performers tell it through dance. The ballet featured 40 performers from France's school, and it took 9 months to plan and prepare. He says he plans to take the ballet on the road, and 2 performances are being scheduled in the Muskegon area. The way off Broadway performance of the Star Wars Ballet coming to a big town near you. 9 minutes away from the top of the hour, Duran Martinez in for Steve Gruber. Just kind of filling some holes with some news today. Be it serious, be it light. We're trying to cover it all here today. If you'd like to join the conversation, 888-900-9966. Going to check in with Brock Palmbush here in a little bit with the sports. Find out how the soulless Bengals did. Ginger fans, you get that. Appreciate you joining us here on the Steve Gruber Show. I'm Duran Martinez on the Michigan Talk Network.